meet us today. We'll start off with Mackey. He works at the DUSSC, so already I'm already impressed. I don't know about you guys. But I'll let him do the rest of the talking, so if you want to make him feel warm and welcome.
Hi guys, I've only got a couple of slides, not too much information. I'm happy to take as many questions as possible. I went to Deakin, I did a sports science degree as well, just like you guys. I sat in a room just like this and listened to a number of people talk when I went through my course. And the guy currently who looks after the Australian cricket team was a student here, and he was roughly in my position. He was about 23, 24 when he came and spoke to us. He was just working with Cricket Victoria. And now he works with the Australian cricket team, so hopefully I follow in his footsteps. I could be as successful as him. After I finished at Deakin, I went and did a Masters at University, which is an online Masters degree, which is one of the only ones you can do in the world. So at least after I finished my undergrad, I could go and work and live and earn some money, but also when I had my spare time I could do my Masters. It's a lot easier. A lot of international students come across and do the same course. At the time when I finished my Deakin degree, Deakin were talking about offering something like that, and I think they might offer something similar in exercise rehab now, but it was an online degree, so it was perfect for me. I didn't have to move to Perth. I went and did 2 weeks over in Perth, which was like a practical seminar. It was a bit like the tubes and things that you guys have now in the labs. We just did 2 weeks over there, intense stuff, so that was really good. And then I also did my level 2 strength and conditioning course through the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association. So when I first went, physiology was my major, and I also did coaching when I was in your shoes. And all I wanted to do was work with elite athletes. That's all I wanted to do. Didn't matter where it was, what it was. It was my dream to work with elite athletes. So when I went through Deakin, I met a whole array of people. Mainly started at university, because most of the guys here who are lecturers and tutors have got some connection with a professional sporting club. So for me, it started off with Hockey Victoria. I was a hockey player, so I knew someone who was looking after the hockey teams in at the VIS, and we filtered down the under-18s, under-16s. So I started doing some holiday camps, just running basic fitness sessions with junior kids. The lady that looked after me there happened to then get a job over at Netball Victoria, so then I followed across and did some stuff with some netballers, under-17, under-18 state teams, things like that, just sort of one-off sessions in and around their state tournaments. The lady that worked there had a friend that worked in Cricket Victoria, so I started doing some rehab stuff with some kids who were young cricketers, just one-on-one sessions. So, you know, like you guys might do personal training or something like that. I was just doing it with young kids who wanted to get better at cricket, so some rehab stuff. When I finished at Deakin, the lady that originally I worked with at Hockey Victoria, she used to be at the Australian Institute of Sport. Her husband happened to work at Essendon Football Club, so about 4 or 5 emails just hounding, and finally they gave me a role that didn't exist. It wasn't advertised or anything. I just basically got myself a traineeship out of nowhere. My job was then to look after Essendon players on game day when they played for Bendigo. So I then became the Bendigo Bombers strength and conditioning coach in 2010. Don't worry, I didn't work with anyone who currently works with Essendon. I'll say that up front. I was with the previous regime. They were all guys who, men and women who worked in the AIS for a long time, very, very experienced people and clean. In this very room I used to do resistance training. I think it might have been in my 3rd year, and my tutor worked at the Melbourne Storm. So I went and spent some time with him at Melbourne Storm, working with the under-20s. And funnily enough, I'm sort of back doing some work with them this year as well. They're a really, really professional club, and if you ever get the opportunity, and I know they still offer things now, so at the moment there's about 10 students down there helping with the under-20s at the moment. There's a couple of people helping with the ones, so if you ever get an opportunity to put your name up, if you strength and conditioning is what you want to do, or if it's physiology or nutrition or anything, they're a club that's willing to offer positions for students. So that's a really, really good opportunity. The one, VIS, so after I left Essendon, the lady that I worked with at Essendon Football Club, she athletes. So after doing pretty much 2 years traineeship at Essendon, then I jumped into 18 months at VIS. So I worked with golf, hockey, rowing, you name it, whatever sport was in there. All of a sudden I had access to another 6 or 7 different strength and conditioning coaches, sports science, so that gave me a platform to sort of continue my work. I also spent, at the end of my second year, here, as soon as I finished in November, I booked my flight to Canberra, and I did 2 weeks in Canberra with the AIS. So once again, I paid my way, you go and live on campus, you just spend 2 weeks up there. You never know what squads are going to be in there, so it's just lucky. I had a road cycling camp was on at the time. I think the rowers are in town. There's obviously a number of sports that are based up there, so that was another experience for me where I spent sort of 2 weeks up there working with those guys, and that was just another sort of string of my bow, I suppose. The unexpected experiences have come with my job. My job now is I'm the strength and conditioning coach for Golf Australia. Once again, I sort of invented my own role. I basically don't compete against anyone. There's no one else in Australia who has strength and conditioning qualifications with a Masters, with a level 2, who wants to work with golf. So I'm in. Perfect. I don't have to compete with AFL guys. I don't get the sack when the team doesn't win, even though I might be doing a good job. The AFL, cricket, NRL are very, very popular for strength and conditioning coaches. You want to work with the biggest, strongest, fastest guys. And I've had the opportunity to work with that, but at the moment I get paid essentially a full-time wage to work with elite athletes, and I also get to travel. So I was a golfer myself, not a very good one, but I enjoyed it, so I enjoy the game. And over the last sort of 3 or 4 years I sort of started working with them for nothing, and gradually increased to getting close to a full-time job. So I also look after Golf Victoria. The Victoria Institute of Sport has a golf program, which is one of the better golf programs in the world for your junior elite to young professional golfers. So I work with that program. Top left is me last year. We went and visited, we have a national camp, Golf Australia have a national camp in Houston when all the players are playing over in the US. So I got some tours of some of the, I've been to 4 American colleges now, and they have the best facilities in the world, full stop, for sport. They just have the dumbest people running them. They've got stupid amounts of money. I've just come back from the US, and I went to Tennessee University, and to give you an example of what they did, they just built an indoor football stadium, which is basically the same as that picture top left. So it's 100 metres long, about 60, 70 metres wide, fully air conditioned, so it's temperature controlled. They spent $72 million on that, a gym, a rehab facility, that only the football team can use. No other sport in the place uses it. So all the other sports have got to use the old gym, which is still a relatively new gym. It was only built 5 years ago. So we're talking like, when I say a gym, I'm talking something like 24 lifting platforms, and then you've got 53 benches or something like that. They had dumbbells coming out of their dumbbells. And in the US it's always bigger and better because they've got to recruit athletes. So they measure their gyms in the amount of weight that they have in their gyms. So they measure it in tonnes. It's how many tonnes of weight we have in our gym means we're better than the other college down the road. So that was a really good experience. Top middle, the pink and blue hockey field. Through golf, I went and spoke at a conference in Korea last year to physios and strength and conditioning coaches that wanted to work in golf, the Korean Golf Association. I went to the Korean Institute of Sport, which is something that not many Westerners get to do. I was invited by the golf coach, and I went and sat in, and they said, the chef looked at me when I walked in. I went and had lunch with the coach, and he looked at me and he said, right, in Korean, who the hell is this guy? And he said he'd been working there for 10 years, and I'm like the 5th non-athlete or Korean coach that he's seen in there eating. So it was quite a humbling experience. Obviously the Korean hockey team, the men were training, they're number 5 in the world. They had one of the girls, the females, she's the recent gold medalist for figure skating, and we were like shunned away. We weren't allowed to look at what she was doing, we weren't allowed to look at her, all that type of stuff. Top right is the hot cold So most of the sports use hot colds, whether you, I mean you guys are the ones who are studying that stuff at the moment, whether you think it's good or bad, another question. Notre Dame's one of the other colleges I went to. Bottom right, me sort of on a diagonal, that's like a core machine in one of Seoul's biggest rehab hospitals. They've got a crazy health system, so if I was to walk down the stairs on the way here and break my leg, I'd go to maybe Eastern Health or something like that, and I might go through a rehab process. You know, I'd probably get a little bit of physio and then I'd just look after myself. In Korea, you're basically going there for 6 months, 2 to 3 hours a day, no matter if you're an athlete or not, and you go through this. It's as regimented as you can imagine. So there was, in this hospital, there would have been, I reckon there would have been 50 people in the room, and every single person, no one was talking, no one was slouching around, everyone was going through exactly what they had to do, whether it was a shoulder, a knee, an ankle, a toe, whatever injury they had, and people were walking around, watching what they were doing, and most programs went for 2 to 3 hours, every day they go and do it. So their rehab stuff is unbelievable. Their physios train basically like our doctors. So physios over here, you know, you might have a 4 or 5 year degree, then you go and do placement, and you get a job that way. Physios over there train for 8, 9, 10 years, and then they specialise in something as well. So it's similar to how our doctors work. Really, really super knowledgeable guys. When they come out to Australia, they work with some of our physios that work with Golf Australia. Our physios were amazed at the knowledge and the touch and things that they had. Bottom middle is the PGA, so PGA Tour. Adam Scott won the Masters yesterday, fantastic thing. They have a gym van that goes around, so I was in there I went and spent a week out with Aaron Badley and his trainer last year on the PGA Tour, and they basically travel around all the time. They go from place to place. Most of the best golf courses in America are in really, really shit towns, like the colleges. Just, you know, it's like Augusta being Frankston. No offense to anyone who's in Frankston, but you know, so some of the crapper spots around. So they don't have access to any gyms or anything like that. So they basically have to work out. Like these guys are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they work in a van. So they've got to find ways to do things. Bottom left is an ice bath in a modified ice bath in a hotel in Houston last year. So sometimes the best players in the world don't have access to one of the guys in the New Zealand national squad. This one, his first tour event, he's a golfer. And I basically just went and found a big tub. I went to the ice machine in the hotel. That little trolley just behind there is like a luggage trolley. So I was just taking like buckets of ice around a luggage trolley, looking after the athletes as you could, just find ways to do things. Yeah, so me now, I spend basic Golf Australia. Every state has got to have a national coach, a physio, a strength and conditioning coach, a psychologist, a nutritionist, sports science, and there's a biomechanist who works with all the guys around Australia. So I'm part of the Victorian team. I also work with guys from WA, guys from Tassie, and a few random players overseas and a few young pros as well. I also spent a little bit of time at a physio clinic down in Carnegie. So my job now is strength and conditioning coach with the Golf Australia national team. We've got athletes coming in. We've just had a 14-year-old join our national squad. He's got a lot of raps on him. The next Tiger, they say. But then all the way to some guys who are 22, 23. This year we're going to travel across the US and play, and then hopefully turn pro in sort of August, October time. When the Aussie tour sort of comes back around. So that's basically my job now. I've got a lot of travel. Spent a couple of weeks in the US already this year, catching up with a couple of players who are over in colleges, playing over there. And then off to Europe in a couple of weeks, follow some players who are going over there to play. We've got a couple of training camps and things. So that's my job, that's my history. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Basically, I just threw myself into everything I could at uni. I spent a lot of time with people who were doing PhDs and honours projects. I was the one in the ice bath, I was the one doing wind sprints on bikes. There was one we had to spend 2 hours on a bike in the heat chamber, down in the sports science lab, with a rectal thermometer. So if I have to tell a rower that they've got to, put the rectal thermometer in, they go, "Oh, you've never done it." Well, we actually have. I know what it feels like. It's very humbling. humbling experience the first time you get to know a rectal thermometer. Anything, I mean, all those types of things. And one of the ladies one of the girls that I work with in here, she was doing that honours project, and she ended up getting a sports science job in the VIS. So it's one of my connections in the VIS to help get my traineeship. So you just never know who's ahead of you or who's next to you, who can help you in your career. There's been a lot of stuff coming out recently about internships and people getting used too much and things like that, but it happens in all the other industries. All my friends who've been lawyers, accountants, have done things over summer and things like that. So see it as an opportunity, not as something that you have to do. Going to a football club and having access to the best athletes in Melbourne, and having access to guys who work full-time strength and conditioning coaches who've come from other sports. You've got access to physios, biomechanists, sports science. They're at the top of the field, so you want to pick their brains as much as they can. Do 50 hours there and then go and do 50 hours somewhere else. I ended up doing over 1,000 unpaid hours at Deakin Football Club, and that was I wouldn't take any of that back for a second because I learned so much about a variety of things. Football clubs are great because it's a professional environment. You can get access to those guys pretty much any time. Whereas at VIS, you've got athletes that are not necessarily paid a full professional wage as such, so they're off doing university and things like that. So before uni, after uni, late nights, early mornings, things like that, good opportunity to work with those guys as well. Everyone's offering internships and things like that now, traineeships, so I'd recommend jump at it straight away. If you've got a particular interest in something, jump at that, you might find out you hate it, so then you've answered that question, done. I sat here at the end of my 30s, still didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew was I wanted to work with elite athletes, so I just did as much as I could, and here I am. Thanks guys, any questions?
Actually, got a question.
Yep.
You've clearly been travelling a fair bit with your work. How do you make those connections? Like, seems like a great idea, but actually being able to capitalise on those opportunities, how do you go about doing that?
I've often said, and I've probably said it too much, I've often said yes to everything, which is sometimes a problem. Sometimes you overstretch yourself. Some of the opportunities I've had with my travel is basically come out of absolutely nowhere. Wasn't planned. Like a month before I went to Korea, someone said, "Do you want to come to Korea for a week?" Yep, fine, let's do it. I had to pay my own way up there. I had to pay for a flight, and then they looked after me while I was up there. I learned a lot of things. I got to see Seoul for a week. Taken around by Koreans for the whole week. Looked after me. Fantastic. It's an experience some people may never get the opportunity to get. See different sports, training in different ways, why they do it, how they do it. The Korean Institute of Sport at 6 AM every morning, 6 days a week, the whole Institute of Sport gets up and trains together for half an hour. 6 till 6:30, they warm up. Every single sport together. Imagine, it just doesn't happen in Australia. You just never get that. You wouldn't get rowing, training, or gymnastics here. They get every single athlete, and it's a different thing every day. It might be more yoga based, it might be a run, it might be a swim, but the whole institute, so they've got like 600 or 700 athletes all get up and train for half an hour together, and then at 6:30, then it all becomes your own sport. You go off and do whatever you need to do, conditioning or massage or gym or training, whatever it may be. So I don't know how I made the connection. Like some students that I work with in here, some guys were tutors of mine, some people were just PhD students or honours students when I was in here as an undergrad. And then you just email and you speak to as many people as you can. Can I come down and watch that? Can I do that? You always have people in uni present to you and say, oh, if you guys ever want to ask a question, come down, you write me email down and you just leave it and just do it. Just send them an email. Can I come watch a session? Yep, great. Oh, by the way, I've got some work for you. Can you look after this guy? Yep, sure, done. So instead of looking after 60-year-old Margie at the local gym, now you're looking after so-and-so who wants to be a weightlifting champion of the world. Perfect. And you learn how to snatch, learn how to clean, anything like that.
Just with your travel experiences again, it started off big ones through golf, was it?
Yep.
After you landed the job there. Was your smaller travelling experiences like that throughout Australia before Korea, was that through golf or?
No, the AIS had nothing to do with anything. That was just me wanting to go to the AIS for a 2-week basic internship. So most of the internships that we run in Melbourne, if you do it at a footy club or the VIS or something, it goes for a year or 18 months or something. Whereas the AAS, they don't often promote them. But I rang up the lady and I said, oh, do you guys do internships? She said, oh, yeah, I'm pretty new here, we used to do it. I said, cool, can I come up in a couple of weeks? She said, yeah, I suppose so, we'll sort it out. So I sent the head S&C for the AAS, I sent him an email, yeah, perfect. 10 weeks later, there was the ASCA conference in the Gold Coast, and I met him again. Great, perfect, another connection. I met the guy 2 weeks ago, now I know him. He happened to be a keynote speaker, he's chatting to someone at dinner. I then chat to this guy who works in Melbourne. I do 6 weeks with another guy in Melbourne. It's not planned at all. You can't plan it. Most of the travel I've done in Australia is working for golf and with golf. But then there's a variety of things where I've just been on a holiday somewhere. Perth's a good example. When I went to Perth, because I did my 2 weeks in Perth for my intense sort of practicum with my masters, I knew the lady that I worked with at Essendon. She worked with the guy who was the strength and conditioning coach for the Australian hockey teams. I have a friend who plays in the Australian hockey team. I called him, yeah, fine. So I go down and spend a morning with the Australian hockey team in the gym. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? Next time in Perth, I ring him up again. I go and watch training. Why are you doing that? Why is the guy rehabbing that way? Why is that different to what I've seen before? Those types of things. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Your level 2 strength and conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
what did that consist of and which organisation did you do that?
I did it with the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association, so the ASCA. It was 2 weekends, so they don't run all the time. You've got to check out when they might normally run 2 a year in Melbourne. It'll be 2 weekends, like Saturday, Sunday, and then you've got to write an article. And it's got to be an article that's high enough to be accepted in this Australian Strength and Conditioning Association journal. So you can write one whatever you like. And you've got to do some hours in there as well and have those signed off. That's about it from me. I've got my email here if anyone has anything too embarrassed to ask a question, or you want to ask a question, or you really like golf and you want to come and hang out at the VIS a couple of mornings next week or whatever. As I said, I was like you guys 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I just kept looking, searching, doing what you can.
Well, so I'm just going to